Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share with you our topic, water sources. This is Unit 1, Lesson 4, covering pages 16 to 18. In this session, we'll explore where our water comes from, the different types of water sources, and why they are important. So let's get started and learn more about the vital sources of water that sustain us every day. Water bodies come in many different forms on Earth, and they each have unique characteristics that set them apart. When we talk about bodies of water, it's important to understand that they can be categorized in several ways. For example, some bodies of water contain freshwater, which is essential for drinking, agriculture, and ecosystems, while others are saltwater, like oceans and seas. Then we look at whether the water is moving, like rivers and streams that flow continuously, or if it's still, such as lakes or ponds that are contained and relatively stationary. The size and borders of these water bodies also vary widely, from tiny ponds to vast oceans that span thousands of miles. Finally, some bodies of water have vegetation within them. Think of marshes or swamps, while others are clear of plants. All these categories help us understand the diversity of water bodies on Earth and why they're so important to the environment, geography, and human life. This understanding will also help us see how different water bodies support different ecosystems and serve various purposes. Oceans are the largest type of saltwater bodies on Earth. They actually cover about 2/3 of our planet's surface, which is a huge part of what makes them so important. Because of their size, oceans can even completely surround entire continents, creating vast, interconnected water systems. There are 5 major oceans we should know about: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. Each has its own unique features and significance. Now, in addition to oceans, we have seas. Seas are also large areas of water, but they are generally smaller than oceans. They often connect to an ocean, and many are partially enclosed by land, which makes them a bit different. For example, the Caribbean Sea lies to the southeast of the United States, and the Mediterranean Sea is nestled between Europe, Africa, and Asia. These smaller bodies of water play essential roles in climate, trade, and ecosystems, connecting us to the larger ocean systems. Understanding these distinctions helps us see how water shapes our planet and impacts our daily lives. Now, let's take a closer look at some smaller saltwater bodies that you might encounter. First, we have bays and gulfs. These are similar in that they are partly enclosed by land, but the key difference is their size. Bays are generally smaller than gulfs. Both create sheltered areas that can be important for ships and marine life. Next, we have channels. Think of channels as water pathways that connect two larger bodies of water. For example, the English Channel links the North Sea to the Atlantic Ocean, serving as a crucial route for ships and trade. Channels help facilitate movement and circulation between big water bodies. Then there are lagoons. These are typically shallow pools of salt water right next to the coast. What makes lagoons interesting is that they are often separated from the main ocean by a sandbank or a low-lying stretch of land. Since they are shallow, they usually don't have waves, creating calm environments that support diverse ecosystems. Moving on, we encounter sounds. These are wide bodies of water that tend to run parallel to the shoreline. A good example is Long Island Sound. They often act as natural separators, such as between an island and the mainland, and can be vital for local transportation and habitat. Finally, we have straits. These are narrow strips of water that connect larger bodies of water. Think of them as natural water bridges, narrow passages that allow ships to pass from one big water area to another. They're essential for navigation and often play strategic roles in geography and history. All these smaller saltwater bodies enrich our understanding of how water is organized around land and how these features influence navigation, ecosystems, and coastal life. All right, now let's dive into our interactive activity, matching the saltwater bodies with their correct definitions. As you click on a term, try to find its matching description. First up is the ocean. This is the biggest type of saltwater body, and it's really important because it covers about 2/3 of Earth's surface. It's vast and plays a crucial role in our climate and ecosystems. Next, we have the sea. Think of it as a large water area that's connected to the ocean, but usually smaller and sometimes more enclosed. Then there's the bay. This is a body of water partly enclosed by land, and it's smaller than a gulf. Bays are often good places for harbors because of their protected waters. A channel is next. It's a waterway that joins two larger bodies of water together, allowing ships and boats to pass through. Think of it as a kind of natural or man-made corridor. Lagoon comes into play as a shallow pool of saltwater found near the coast. These are often separated from the ocean by sandbars or coral reefs and are usually calmer, making them interesting ecosystems. And finally, the Strait. This is a narrow stretch of water that connects two larger bodies of water, acting like a bridge between them. So, as you go through this activity, match each term with its correct definition. This helps us understand the diversity and characteristics of different saltwater bodies, which is a key part of our overall study of Earth's geography. Check your answers as you go. When we think about freshwater bodies, it's important to remember that they are generally smaller than saltwater bodies like oceans and seas. These freshwater sources come in many different types, each playing a vital role in supporting life and ecosystems. They include sources like brooks, which are small, gentle streams, and streams that are a bit larger but still relatively narrow. Rivers are more substantial watercourses that often flow over long distances, providing water for communities and wildlife alike. Lakes are large, still bodies of freshwater, offering habitats for many species and opportunities for recreation. Ponds are smaller, often shallow bodies of water that are usually found in parks or natural areas. All of these freshwater sources are crucial because they provide drinking water and support a wide variety of ecosystems, which ties into our overall theme of understanding the importance of water resources and conservation. Let's take a closer look at brooks, streams, and rivers. First, we have brooks, also called creeks. These are the smallest moving bodies of freshwater, and they often flow into larger streams. From there, the water continues its journey into rivers. Moving on to streams, which are larger than brooks and flow continuously. They play a crucial role by collecting water from brooks and carrying it toward rivers. Streams are really an essential part of the freshwater cycle. Finally, we have rivers. In most cases, rivers empty into an ocean, sea, or lake. Along the way, smaller flowing waters called tributaries feed into these larger bodies. And all of this starts with rainfall and snowmelt, which contribute to filling these various freshwater sources. Did you know? Water flows from the tiniest brooks all the way out to the ocean, creating a connected network of freshwater bodies. It's a fascinating and vital system that keeps our water cycle moving smoothly. Lakes are typically full of freshwater and are completely surrounded by land. They can vary a lot in size, from small to enormous. For example, the Great Lakes in Northern America are some of the largest lakes in the world, much bigger than your average lake. On the other hand, Utah's Great Salt Lake is a good example of a saltwater lake, which is a bit different from most lakes that contain freshwater. Now, ponds are similar in that they're inland bodies of water, but they tend to be much smaller than lakes. They're usually shallow and also contain freshwater. One thing to keep in mind is that there isn't a strict definition that clearly separates a pond from a small lake. Sometimes it's just a matter of size or appearance. Most lakes are freshwater, but some can be saltwater, like the Great Salt Lake. The key point here is that both lakes and ponds are still, non-flowing bodies of water. They don't have currents like rivers do, which makes them unique ecosystems within our overall theme of water bodies. All right, now it's time for a fun interactive activity called the water flow journey. As we go through each step, I want you to imagine tracing the path of water from its source all the way to the ocean. First, we start with the brook, or creek. This is the smallest moving body of freshwater, often found in forests or mountain areas. It's like the tiny trickle you might see running through a wooded area. Next, that brook flows into a larger body called a stream. Think of the stream as a bigger, more noticeable waterway that collects water from smaller brooks and feeds into bigger rivers. And then, those streams come together to form a river. Rivers are powerful and can carry a lot of water over long distances, shaping the land as they go. Finally, all these rivers eventually empty into larger bodies of water like the ocean, sea, or even a large lake. This completes the journey from a small trickle to the vast, expansive ocean. If you want to see how water travels through these stages again, just click Reset and trace the journey once more. This activity helps us understand the interconnectedness of water sources and highlights the importance of each step in the water cycle. All right, let's go through some practice questions to reinforce what we've learned. First, true or false? Oceans are the biggest type of saltwater. The correct answer is true. Oceans indeed cover the largest area of salt water on Earth, making them the most significant bodies of salt water we have. Next, true or false? A sea is a large area of water which, in many cases, connects to an ocean, such as the Caribbean Sea that lies to the southeast of the United States. This one is true as well. Seas are often smaller than oceans, but they are connected to them, and they can be partially enclosed by land. The Caribbean Sea is a great example of a sea connected to the Atlantic Ocean. Finally, true or false? Islands are typically quite shallow compared to similar size pools of salt water and can be found next to the coast. This statement is true. Islands are usually shallow compared to the open water around them, and they are generally located close to the coast, often formed from land that rises above sea level. Now, if you want to test yourself, you can hit the Reset Quiz button and try these questions again. This helps reinforce the key ideas about oceans, seas, and islands, which are all fundamental to understanding our planet's water systems. Let's look at some practice questions to reinforce what we've learned about different water bodies. First, we'll focus on fill-in-the-blank questions. A water body that joins two larger bodies of water, like the English Channel, is called a channel. It's essentially a passage that allows water to flow between bigger areas. Next, the narrow threads of water that connect larger bodies, such as rivers linking to lakes or seas, are known as straits. These are important for navigation and water flow between different regions. Then we have seas, large areas of saltwater that are often connected to oceans. They can be vast and are usually partially enclosed by land, playing a key role in climate regulation and marine life. Ponds are also found inland, but unlike lakes, they tend to be smaller in size. They are usually shallow, making them ideal habitats for various plants and animals. Now, moving on to multiple-choice questions. One key fact is that about 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered by water, and the correct answer here is ocean water. Oceans hold the majority of Earth's water resources and are crucial for Earth's climate and weather systems. Another point is that rivers empty into larger bodies of water like oceans, seas, or lakes. They are vital for transporting water and nutrients across landscapes. When considering the smallest moving bodies of fresh water, streams and brooks or creeks are the options. Among these, streams are generally considered the smallest, and they are essential for local ecosystems. Lastly, a water body entirely surrounded by land is called a lake. Unlike seas, lakes are freshwater bodies enclosed by land, which makes them unique and vital for local water supply and habitats. Understanding these key water bodies helps us appreciate the diversity and importance of Earth's water systems. They are interconnected and play essential roles in our environment and daily lives. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways about water bodies. As we discussed, water bodies are primarily classified into two categories, freshwater and saltwater. Each of these plays a vital role in our planet's ecosystems and human life. Saltwater bodies include the vast oceans and seas that cover about 2/3 of Earth's surface, making them the most extensive water sources we have. They also include smaller features like bays, gulfs, channels, lagoons, sounds, and straits, each with unique characteristics based on their size, shape, and location. On the other hand, freshwater bodies, such as brooks, creeks, streams, rivers, lakes, and ponds, are generally smaller but equally important. Water flows from small sources like brooks and streams into larger rivers, eventually reaching the oceans. Another key point is that water bodies can either be moving, like rivers and streams, or still, like lakes and ponds. Understanding the differences in size, borders, and the vegetation around them helps us appreciate their unique qualities. Most importantly, recognizing these distinctions helps us better understand Earth's precious water resources. By managing and conserving these diverse water bodies, we can ensure a healthier planet for future generations.